My name is Umar, founder of the Bureau Bullies. I've been in the credit space for well over 10 years now. Through multiple failures, I've learned how to beat these companies at their own game. And now we're going to put together an action plan. We built this platform to empower consumers to fight back against inaccurate credit reporting, abusive collections, and a system that depends on you not knowing your rights. Through education, strategy, and consumer law awareness, we've helped consumers remove millions of dollars worth of debt from their credit reports, and we've shown everyday working class people how to sue and win without an attorney. Our slogan is simple: sue them all. From the United States to communities around the world, the Bureau Bullies is here to help consumers stop being afraid, start understanding their rights, and take their power back. All right, so we are live. Today we'll be talking about charge-offs, but before we get into it, I have a very, very special guest that wants to give his testimonial. This is actually a client of mine. He had an Amex charge-off, and he came to us with the Amex charge-off. As most of you know, normally when you have a charge-off with anybody in general, it makes things very, very hard, but I want him to tell a little bit of his story. If you could tell it in English and Spanish, that would be perfect, bro. So the floor is yours.
So I had an account with Amex before, which was struggling to pay. Obviously, they did the charge off, they did everything. That was when I started looking for a solution, and I found him, the Bureau Bullies. I communicated with him. I explained everything that was going on. He taught me pretty well. He explained everything to me, and then from there we started the process. Not only delete the credit report that they had. He got me the balance delete and the credit report as well, like I just said. And then from there, I also got paid from the settlement that we both got from the lawsuit we had. Uh, he always communicated to me. He always explained everything to me. He was on point on everything. So I'm pretty happy about that. And just working on the credit score right now to also get the credit card that I once had. And I really appreciate that, bro. Very grateful. And, looking forward for more, services that you provide because they
No,
really basically help me in life. You know what I mean?
yeah, for
Uh,
sure. No problem, bro. No problem.
and I really
So,
appreciate that. So, yo tenía una cuenta de Amex que se me hizo un problema pagarla. Tuve varios meses, ¿verdad? Teniendo problemas de poder pagar la cuenta. Ahí fue cuando conocí a the Bureau Bullies, yeah. Muy buena persona, me ayudó, pudo borrar todo del crédito y nada, conseguí un arreglo con ellos. Este, Pude borrar la cuenta, pude borrar el monto que tenía también y me pagaron de ahí también. Entonces, ahora mismo estamos trabajando para subir la cuenta de crédito. Esperemos que pueda subirla a 750 otra vez y de ahí nuevamente poder sacar la tarjeta que una vez tuve.
also you just showed me today that your dad, who was also a client, got the title to his motorcycle. He had a charge off. You mind showing that as well?
Yes, sir. Can, as you see here, this is the title right there for the motorcycle. Everything was smooth, a lot of communication. So you can see this is the
That's
evidence
perfect.
of the
Perfect. Perfect. I
win that we
appreciate,
got. Yeah.
I appreciate you so much for coming on, bro. And shoot me a text as soon as we get off so we can start working on this next situation.
Yes, sir, I will.
All
Appreciate
right.
that.
Appreciate you, brother. All right, so we are live for another episode of the Bureau Bullies podcast, aka Sue Them All. I know y'all like that testimonial we just watched. That was one of my clients. Actually, him and his father were a client. As he said, he had the Amex charge off that he could not get removed. We got it removed, and they had to pay him a nice amount of money. We couldn't actually say the amount. In his father's situation, his father had a motorcycle that charged off. We handled that situation for him as well, and they ended up deleting it from his credit report and giving him the title to the motorcycle. we're going to go over how we did that. Now, I'm not going to go into the specific situation again because there was an NDA sign, but I'm going to go over charge-offs, and I'm going to give you the game that we use to reach those specific results, all right? So just like in the last episode, I said that I'm trying to do my best to not ramble because I'm very good for that. So I've been putting notes on the computer, and that's what you'll see me reading from. We're going to look at exactly what a charge-off is, the definition of it, and just like I stated in the last video, if you're new to if you didn't watch the old video, you should go watch it because we're actually releasing these videos in order. But you want to go actually look at that video because in there I made clear the true definition of what a late payment was. We're actually now going to look at what the definition of a charge-off is. The term charge-off is in no way defined under the FCRA. You can't find any definition section of the FCRA that says what a charge-off is. Now, here's the thing. You should not have to struggle with charge-offs if you do what I tell you to do in this video, okay? And that goes for anything. I know people like to get specific. We'll work with this company. We'll work with student loans. It'll work for everything if you just pay close enough attention and you apply yourself. Charged off does not mean written off for life. A charged off debt is an accounting term, and normally, well, companies like Affirm, they charge off at 90 days. But most companies like Chase, etc., they charge off at 180 days. This proves that the FCRA doesn't define it because each individual company has their own definition of a charge off. So they'll say, hey, ours go to 180 days, and Affirm will say 90. Some companies do 60. It differs per company. Now, there are some false rumors on the internet that once something charged off, you no longer owe it. That's not true. You have to actually read the agreement you agreed to. You can't just come up with your own definition outside of the agreement. So the alleged debt is still owed until you do something about it. A charge-off also reports for up to 7 years if you do nothing about it. So what that means is from the date of first delinquency, that debt will remain on your report until you or somebody you hire does something about it. But doing nothing means that it's going to sit there. But here's the thing. Whether or not you owe is never the real question. The real question is always accuracy and reasonable investigation. So those are always two questions you have to ask. Was it accurate? And was the investigation reasonable? Quick disclaimer, the Bureau Bullies, we are not attorneys. We do not promise any specific result. Every situation you see in any one of our videos, especially as far as testimonials are concerned, is done from our own knowledge, but we do not promise any results. We are not attorneys and we cannot represent you. So we're going to go through six segments in this particular episode. Number one, we're going to look at what a charge-off really is. Number two, we're going to talk about the still owe it paradox, which we'll break down in a minute. Number three, we're going to talk about date of first delinquency, re-aging, and fall-off. Number four, we're going to talk about debt buyers and zombie debts because our next episode will be about debt collectors. Number five, talk about settlement, leverage, deletions, and the 1099-C that you hear everybody talking about. And number six, we'll talk about the playbook. All right. What is a charge-off? A charge-off is an accounting move. It doesn't mean a debt is forgiveness, just an accounting term. And what it means is after prolonged non-payment, the creditor, aka the lender, reclassifies the debt as a loss on its books. That's what a charge-off is. So as far as federal guidance goes, credit cards, which are considered open-ended, are charged off at around 180 days past due. Installment loans, which are closed in, they're charged off at only about 120 days. It just means that after a prolonged period of non-payment, the lender has put this on his books as a loss. And there's a few reasons why they do that. One reason is most of these companies are publicly traded, like an American Express, etc. So their investors and things like that on the open market need to be able to see their books. That's why they have to file 8Ks and 10Ks. You can actually look that up. So when something charges off, they have to put that on their books so they're well aware that this is a debt that they deemed is no longer collectible. And the way they normally make good on that debt is by selling it off. Sometimes they'll attempt to collect themselves, but most times they'll sell it off to a collection agency just to make it look good on their books. What a charge-off does is satisfies the bank's accounting. It does not immediately cancel what you owe, right? You can still be billed, the debt can still be sold, and you can still be sued within the state time limit, which we'll talk about that in another YouTube video as well. All right, so if I were to put all of that in plain English, I would say a charge-off is the bank gave up expecting you to pay on time and they booked it as a loss. That does not mean they forgave it. It just means that you're no longer as their book as positive cash flow coming in. How does an account march to a charge-off? So when you first get your credit card, you're paying on time. They like to see that. You're now positive cash flow, right? Or receivables. In accounting terms, we want to use accounting terms, you're what's called receivables, all right? Then things happen. COVID comes, Ebola, the hantavirus, whatever. Things happen. You lose your job. Business gets hard, which happens with most of us, right? You're now become 30 days late. That's what's called the date of first delinquency. Went over there in the first video. Then after that, it happens in succession. Remember we talked about Metro 2 compliance, the last video? This is what this is referring to. So you go from 30 to 60 to 90 to 120 If it's an installment loan, you normally charge off at that point. But now if it's an open-end credit plan, you normally would charge off at 150 to 180 days. One alleged debt has 3 lives. This is what we normally say on the back end of the credit space, right? And you hear most attorneys use language like this. One debt has 3 lives, right? So the first life is the debt is open and it's still owed. Number 2, once it charges off, it's sold, it's still living. And then number 3, whether they keep it or sell it, it's still being reported. Those are the 3 lives of an alleged debt, specifically a charge-off. Now, the biggest issue with charge-offs versus collections is this. The original creditor or lender normally has more data to substantiate their claim than a company they sold it to does. But there's a lot more leverage a lot of times with the creditor when you sue them, which I'm going to show in a minute, why you have more leverage with them versus a collection agency. And a lot of people don't believe that on the internet, but I'm going to prove it to you and why we were able to beat these last 2 companies that you saw at the beginning of this video for the testimonial. The original creditor, once they charge something off, they write it off as a loss or a write-off, but the debt is still owed. Let's make that clear. When they sell it to a third-party debt collector, you can make the argument that you no longer owe it, but that does not absolve the alleged collection agency of the right to attempt to collect on. So now the biggest issue with a charge-off is that it's one of those accounts that lingers for a long time, right? It has 7 years plus 180 days. And in my opinion, it's the most dangerous mark. And a big misconception that I want a lot of people to understand is that paying it does not erase it. And now one thing that does happen, which happens with most negative marks on a credit report, is that impact fades over time. So the longer this thing is reporting, the less of an impact it has on you, but it will still affect you getting the things you want in life. So now we're going to look at the second segment. The still owe it paradox and dispute. So here's what a charge-off should and should not report. A charge-off should report the charge-off amount. It should equal exactly what you owe at the point it charged off. If it's still held by the original creditor, the balance can show, but it must be accurate. If sold, the original creditor should report a 0 balance as transferred and sold. So I'm going to repeat that one part because this is very important. If you have a charge-off, it's with the original creditor, American Express, Discover, and they sell it to Midland or Portfolio Recovery, it should report with a 0 balance, and it should show as transferred and sold. A charge-off cannot show a balance if it's been sold to a collection agency. Next, only one party should be reporting a balance owed at the time. So what that means is, again, if I have an account with Discover and it charges off and they sell it to Midland Funding, only one of them should be reporting the balance, not both of them. If both of them are reporting it, somebody's in a lot of trouble. Here are some red flags with charge-offs. Most people don't know to check the status update or the date of the status change on their report. That's one of the most important ones. It always shows you something was sold or transferred, the date it was last updated, etc. You should really, really look at that. All right. So both the original creditor and the collector showing a balance, that's a red flag. That's called double dipping. Any post-charge-off interest or fees inflating the amount after it charged off, red flag. A reported balance that doesn't match your last pre-charge statement is another red flag. So in the case of the testimonial that you saw, I can tell you a host of things that we saw in the report without being too specific. The status update date did not match, and we're charging post-charge-off interest. And there was a while where they reported it as a collection and then jumped into a charge-off. And after we disputed it, they refused to update it or change it. That's just a free game for you if you're looking at your report right now. So you should always look at post-charge-off interest and fees. What that means is when it's charged off, are they still adding interest and fees onto that? These are things you have to keep a record of because if you don't, they'll take complete advantage of it. All right. So some furnishers keep adding interest or fees after charge-off, inflating the reported balance. This is a common thing that happens. The reported charged-off amount is a fixed Metro 2 field. It shouldn't drift over time. And I think we're going to do just one YouTube video just about Metro 2 compliance so it makes more sense. A balance that grows month over month or differs across 3 bureaus is a single error. So this is why I always tell people, if you're fighting one charge off, you should have all 3 reports and look at that one charge off on all 3, or now we can say 4 reports. So you always have to compare the reported amount to your last statement before the charge off. So here's what I always tell people to do. Pull all 3 or 4 reports, do your last pre-charge off statement, look at the amount on that, your literal credit card statement, note the exact balance and date, screenshot all 3 CRAs reporting that balance, and flag any month or mismatch that you find. Now, some of y'all don't want to sit and do all that math, fine. You can throw it in AI, but still, you should be watching everything the AI spits out, but it'll help you out a lot because you'll see any data that doesn't match up. Now, for that particular thing, in my opinion, Claude is the best for reading through PDFs and statements and comparing it to credit report. All right. You can also go to bullyaiagent.com or the bureaubullies.com and drop it into Bully AI, and he'll look through it as well. Here are some common charge-off contradictions worth disputing. status versus balance. So if it's sold slash transfer but still showing a balance, that's a contradiction. Re-age date of first delinquency. That's a delinquency date newer than your real first missed payment. That's a contradiction. Double reporting. This is when the original creditor and the collection agency are reporting the same debt with the same balance. Inconsistent dates across reports. So this one says it opened on this date. This one says it opened on the other date. This one says it closed on this one. This one says it charged off on this date. Inflating your balance when they inflate your balance and it doesn't add up with what's in your agreement. Here's another one. Wrong status code. This is what most people don't know to look for, but it's a very powerful one that we have won a lot of cases with. Reporting open slash current when it's charged off or vice versa. So I'm gonna read a script. So y'all gonna have to kind of like, I'm not gonna say we're gonna post it in the description, but I'm gonna read a script, right? And if you drop this script in AI, it'll expand it for you. And this is what you can send. This is the literal letter. I took this from the letter that we used for the client at the beginning of the testimonial. I took this from little parts from it, so you could have the same success as we had, right? So you're gonna say, I dispute the following as inaccurate and unverifiable. You wanna get specific. If it's the balance or whatever, say that so you can get a real investigation going. And you let them know under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, 1681, please conduct a reasonable investigation and delete or correct the inaccurate data. And then you're going to enclose a copy of just that highlighted account on your report. Now, I'm going to tell y'all why you do not send them. A lot of people do this. They'll send the whole report. You never do that. Just send a highlighted account that you're fighting, because if you send every negative account, you'll hurt yourself when you try to go for actual damages. Once it comes back verified, you want to now request a method of verification. They have 15 days to provide this. And what you're requesting from the CRA, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, is the procedure they use. Did you send an ACDV record request? Did you use eOscar, etc.? This is a procedure. After you ask for the procedure, you now want to know which furnisher was contacted, their business name, and the address of who they reach. And then you have the right, if it's reasonably available, you have the right to ask for the phone number of who they spoke to. So here's how charge-offs overstay their welcome. We're now in segment 3, which is called the illegal reset. They'll report a newer date of first delinquency than the one that actually happened. And a classic move they do is when a charge-off is purchased by a third-party debt collector, they'll stamp it from the date that they purchased it. They'll make that the date of first delinquency. They're allowed to make that the date the account opened, but they're not allowed to change the date of first delinquency, because if they were to do that, then the account would stay on for longer than 7 years, which is a violation of the FCRA. Another one is or paid, then re-defaulted pattern that restarts the clock without a real cure. And this has a serious effect on you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all status set that we use in this exact situation that you noticed in the beginning of the YouTube video. So number 1, you get all 3 reports, right? And you put them side by side. What you're looking for on these reports on all 3 for each charge off, but just I'd say focus on one at a time. Date of first delinquency should be the first thing you always look at. Date of last charge off, status update, payment history, and date it was opened or closed. See if it adds up. I mean, you want to throw the balance in there as well. You just need one thing to not add up. But this is not what you're going to win with. This violation is not what you're going to win with, because they can correct that. You're going to, at that point, you're going to dispute this. Once you dispute it and it comes back verified, you now want a closer look at the furnisher's investigation and the method the CRA used to investigate. There's a reason why you're doing this, because both of them, what most people don't know is when you dispute something on a credit report, the furnisher's not the only person investigating this. The CRAs were investigating as well. So I tell people all the time, there's 3 investigations going on when you dispute something. Your first investigation, CRA's investigation, and the furnisher's investigation. The furnisher's not allowed to rely on their own internal record, and the CRA is not allowed to parrot what the furnisher said, but this is what they both do all the time. So once you dispute it, you let it come back verified, you request a method of verification from the CRA, then you're going to send a demand letter to the furnisher, and you want a copy of their internal records regarding this, and you want proof that they conducted a reasonable investigation, but you make it clear that if they do not comply, you're going to litigate in 15 days. You wait out, well, you know what? If you're new, say 30 days, just to be safe. You're going to say 30 days. 2 things are going to happen. They're going to respond with a generic response, proving they conducted a sham investigation, which works in your favor. And then number 2, they're not only going to respond with a sham investigation, they may not respond at all, which works in your favor. Now you're at the point where you decide if you're going to sue. Me personally, as I've told y'all many times, I prefer to move pro se because I feel like nobody can tell my story better than me. But if you feel like you're not a confidence for that, you can always hire an attorney. And most attorneys, if you've done enough due diligence and enough groundwork like we've discussed in this video, they will take your case for free because they know they're going to get paid on the back end, know they're going to settle the case pretty quick. So a few takeaways I want you to take from this video. Number 1, always get all 3 or 4 credit reports. We can say 4. All right. Number 2, you're the first investigation that takes place. Number 3, never rely or depend on what experience changing Equifax says. And number 3, definitely never rely on what the furnisher says. Because the thing is, the information that you submit is squeezed into a 3-digit code, and there's no way they can conduct a reasonable investigation based on a 3-digit code. So you always win. You just have to be willing to fight. So number 1, here are some common myths that we're going to debunk. Once something charges off, you get a 1099-C and it disappears. Not true. Number 2, just because they report it means it's accurate. Definitely not true. The date of first delinquency can change. Huge lie. All of these are huge misconceptions that go around the internet. You shouldn't believe any of them. And if you want to learn more, or if you want more actionable steps, if you check the description below, I have a free ebook called the Bureau Bully Bible, and you can get it and download it. Everything that we went through this video, you'll be able to do it for free for yourself. So get your copy right now.